the surface, consuming, confusing. This lack of self-control I fear is never.
Our guest today is Ramon Rodriguez Estrada, project management executive and author of the Human Interaction Ninja. With more than 24 years of experience leading projects around the world in the automotive industry, Ramon has tested these principles in real life. His book, The Human Interaction Ninja, is not a collection of theories. It is a code for influence, a code for persuasion, a code for reading people and controlling the hidden dynamics of power. It blends philosophy, psychology, and neuroscience with strategies forged through decades of real application, and a remote belief that behind every tactic, every technique, every negotiation, there is one foundation of a successful life: to control the response to our emotions. Today, he'll show us why mastering yourself is the key to power and introduce the 6 HIN skills to us, beginning with the most difficult of all, emotional control. You told us that every human interaction begins with emotional control, and you talked about six HIN skills. Is that right? Can you walk us through that, please?
Well, first of all, thank you, Eva. Thanks for having me here. I'm very excited because this is the first episode of 12 episodes. But let's start with this phrase. Viktor Frankl once said, between a stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our ability to choose our response. In that response lies our growth and our freedom. Jean-Paul Sartre said, freedom is what you do with what has been done to you. And this reminds me of an Eckhart Tolle quote that says, the problem is not what happens to you, but your thoughts about it. This is a fascinating quote because it describes the foundation of the human interaction ninja. Let's call it the HIN to shorten the phrase. The HIN, the human interaction ninja, has this foundation. And the foundation is emotional control. And we'll talk about that in depth in this chapter. But let's go back to your questions. The 6 HIN skills. The first one, as we said, is emotional control. Before you want to control anything, you need to control yourself. Now, if you think about it, it's actually the only thing you can control. You cannot control the weather. You cannot control other people. You cannot control the government. You cannot even control your health. The only genuine thing you can control is your thoughts. It's the only thing. And if you understand that your thoughts create your emotion, and your emotion creates how you interact with the world, then you have a fantastic way of understanding why emotional control is important. But we'll come back to that, and we're going to discuss this in length. The second HIN skill is the 80-20 principle. And that means you have to listen 80%, actively listen 80%, and talk 20%. And that comes from Vilfredo Pareto. He was an Italian economist who discovered that 20% of the wealth in Italy, 20% of the people had 80% of the wealth in Italy. And that principle applies for everything, for mathematics, for statistics. We as engineers, we work with that all the time, the Pareto principle, and even for your life. 80% of your results belongs to 20% of what you do in the day. So that means that you waste a lot of time. And really, the results of your day belong to that 20 focused work that you do during the day. This is just an example. But 80-20 principle applies also for communication. If you focus 80% on actively listen to other people, you will guarantee success in connection. Now let's go to the third principle. The third principle is talking to the emotional brain. In my book, I talk about talking to system 1. And that comes from Daniel Kahneman. Daniel Kahneman is, he won the Nobel Prize in behavioral economics because he discovered that we as humans are not as rational as we think. We have cognitive bias. What that means is we justify our emotions with false reasoning. And that's why he won the Nobel Prize. He worked with his colleague Amos Tversky. He died before they won the Nobel Prize. But this opened the door for the psychology world tremendously, because now we understand that we are emotional beings. So system 1, he calls it in the book Thinking Fast and Slow. I highly recommend you read it, because this is one of the bases of the human interaction ninja. In his book Thinking Fast and Slow, he talks about system 1 being the emotional brain, the fast brain, the reactive brain. And system 2 is the slow brain, the deliberate brain, the logic brain. So we divide the two, meaning, in other words, that system 1 is the limbic brain, system 2 is the prefrontal cortex or the neocortex. Not in that perfect separation, but to put it in simple words. So that's the principle number 3, or the skill number 3. Then we have the skill number 4, which is transmutation. Have you ever had a person that is emotionally high, whether it's angry or extremely sad, depressed, or extremely happy or extremely excited? It's very difficult to communicate with this type of person. I have experienced that somebody comes to me very angry, and then I say, calm down. And what it causes is just to even make him even angrier. And this is because we don't connect to the emotion first. That doesn't mean that I'm going to respond angry, but I need to meet the person at the same mental state all the time. And then move the person to a common ground, calm and positive frame, so we can communicate. If you try to communicate with your spouse, with your children, with your boss, with your colleague during an argument, it's nearly impossible. It's nearly impossible. You cannot. And then later on, when both of you are relaxed, then you say, oh yeah, I'm sorry. I said this. Oh yeah, you're right. And that is because we cannot communicate when we are operating from the emotional frame. The 5th HIN skill is related. So the 5th HIN skill is influence seeding. And I'm very excited about this point, because here we talk about another amazing person, which is Robert Cialdini. Robert Cialdini is arguably the top world expert on influence. And he speaks about 6 principles. He added the 7th one. But let me just briefly talk about it. The first one is social proof. If everybody is doing it, it must be right. The second one is authority. If somebody is an expert, he must be right. The third one is liking. We like dealing with people who we like, independent of whether or not they are the right person. The fourth one is scarcity. If there is few of it, I must have it, because it's special and I'm special. Interesting.
Yeah.
Then we have consistency and commitment. If you said you were generous, if somebody told you were generous, you will behave like that automatically, whether you are or not, because you like to stay consistent with what other people says. We have unity. Unity is a principle that he added later on. And if you are one of us, one of the clan, one family member, then you belong. And you have influence on me. And there is one that I'm missing, reciprocity. If I do something for you, or you do something for me, I must pay it back. Unconsciously, we are wired to do that. So those are the principles of Cialdini. And the influence seeding in communication, the ninja, or the human interaction ninja, understands how to inject it in the communication. What it does is push for action. I can have all the synchrony, all the empathy with you, David, or with you, Pedro, or with you, Eva. But if I don't inject this influence seeding, you will not move. And this is where this applies. And then the last skill is mastering CELIA. This is my own contribution to the world. CELIA is a formula, but it's not like a recipe. It's a formula that talks about some components. And I was talking to David the other day and we were saying, CELIA is like a piano. I'm going to explain CELIA briefly. C stands for competence. In the very first 5 seconds, when you meet somebody, you assess competence. Isn't that amazing? And this is unconscious. It's not like, oh, does he know? Does he don't know? No, it's unconscious. You immediately, in the very first 5 seconds, you ask yourself if he's competent. Competent in whatever matters. If you are giving a public speech, who is he? Is he competent? And then the moment you know, things change. So competence is the first one. Then synchrony. Synchrony is empathy, or what Chris Voss, an ex-BI hostage negotiator, calls tactical empathy. Empathy is we connect and we understand each other. You have to create that environment. And then you have the E that stands for emotional resonance. And what it means is, what I was talking about, transmutation, this is important. You need to meet the person and then, like in a dance, in a tango, lead the person to where you want to go. That is the E. And then you have the L, which is language. The topic language is amazing. And here, probably you've heard about the rule, the meridian rule, that talks about 7, 38, 55. Have you ever heard about that? If not, let me explain. The 55 is 55% of your communication is nonverbal, is your body. 38% of your communication is your voice, your tonality, your inflections, everything related to the voice. And only 7% is the words you say. And that is why whenever you say something and your body language does not match, then people feel like, what is he talking about? But even if you don't speak, if your body language shows confidence, they will believe you, even if you don't speak. Totally. So this is very big because if you think about it, a lot of people worry about their speech. And the speech is the last thing people really see or really hear.
It's how you say it.
It's how you say it, more important than anything else, and how you show it. If I'm talking to you and I'm saying, Pedro, I'm really happy today, you will not believe it. If I say, Pedro, I'm really sad today, you will not believe it. You will believe my body language. They say, come on, you're not sad. And that is excellent. That is an excellent point in communication, because language, more than the words and the synchrony and everything else we discuss, will give you the edge. And then you have the influence triggers. We talk about it. Reciprocity, liking, scarcity, etc., etc. You have to inject that in every communication. And then the formula multiplies by A, which is alignment. Everything has to be aligned, otherwise it will not work. It will come off as insincere or, set up. It's not what the brain will capture as an honest communication. And it's like a piano. In the piano you can play jazz, you can play salsa, you can play classical music, you can play anything. And the alignment is like the pedal. It will give the intensity and the emphasis in the music. Without the pedal, the music dies. So it's amazing. So that's the last one of the HIN skills. So we have 6. But let's come back to the first one, emotional control.
Yes. Okay, well, you said that the emotional control is part of the 6 skills that
That's right.
The interaction ninja or the human interaction must has. No? But this is not philosophy. I mean, I think that is not philosophy. What is the science behind of this? I mean, how the brain works if we are talking about emotional control.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And it boils down to something called neuroscience. Neuroscience is the science that studies the brain in relation to our emotions. We have neurons in our brain, millions and 1000000s of neurons, and they connect. And then they connect through a process called synapses. Every neuron is separated by a nano distance, and they create the different neurochemicals that will create an emotion in you. So the science behind is we need to understand the brain. I will speak in simple terms for the sake of the explanation. The brain is very complex, and we will need a neuroscientist to really go deep in what it means. But I'm going to give you a simplified version for the sake of understanding the brain. We have three brains. We have the reptilian brain, which is in charge of your bodily functions, the ones that are automatic, you know, the heartbeat and the organs, everything else inside your body. Then you have the limbic brain, which is responsible for protection. The limbic brain has many elements, but the three most important ones, for the sake of the explanation, is the amygdala, the hippocampus, and the hypothalamus. Now let's talk about the amygdala. The amygdala is the part of the brain in charge of the fight or flight response. Whenever you feel fear, the amygdala secretes cortisol and secretes adrenaline. And those are hormones that will induce in you the fight, flight, or freeze response. And that is ancient. Talking about evolutionary psychology and evolution, you have the limbic brain since 200 million years. Of course, it has been developed through time, but in the end, it's 99.9% the same. So that's the second brain. Then the third brain is what we call the neocortex. It's the last brain that was developed in humans. It's what make us humans. Okay. And we call it the prefrontal cortex. Prefrontal cortex is your logical brain. It's the one you use if I ask you, okay, multiply 1,375 times 1,350,000. You will need to do some complex multiplication, probably write down something or use a calculator or something like this. Exactly. Your limbic brain doesn't matter in this case. You are absolutely applying this. Probably you will have a limbic brain response because you will feel anxious of the question. And then you have this limbic, and then what it has is very interesting because the limbic brain blocks the rational brain or the logical brain. Okay. It blocks it. So you cannot think when you're scared. And that is why the limbic reaction is important to maintain to the minimum, to cortisol and adrenaline. A little bit of cortisol, a little bit of adrenaline is okay, but not too much.
Okay. So, I mean, Ramon, thank you for the explanation. You mentioned two hormones that are, I would say, creating these responses. No? And you mentioned adrenaline and cortisol. Those both create these three reactions. You know, you mentioned freeze, and another two.
Fight and flight.
Fight and flight. Okay. Mm-hmm. But can you give me another? I mean, I would say that example. For example, let's think about a situation that is super stressed. You are not feeling danger, but super stressed. For example, in a job, I would say ambient from your boss. No? Your boss is yelling, is asking you things that you don't know, no? Asking you to do things that, of course, you can do, but there are already 5 p.m. So, I mean, you need to go to home, but you feel like it's my job to do it. No? How can you respond, or how the brain works in this situation?
Well, first of all, your brain works on automatic mode, the limbic brain. The moment you feel threatened, whether it is your boss yelling at you or your spouse or some danger that your brain detects or you detect, it will react immediately. So it will start producing the adrenaline and the cortisol will absolutely possess your body, and you will have anxiety. You will probably sweat. You will probably feel angry as well, because it's the fight, flight, or freeze. One of these options. But then what you can do, and this is the point that Eva was saying at the beginning about Viktor Frankl, between a stimulus and response, there is a space. There is techniques that we can explain, immediate techniques and other techniques that you develop through time for these type of moments. But there is techniques to reset the amygdala in the moment.
And do not react.
And do not react, exactly. Once you reset the amygdala, then you can use what Kahneman calls system 2, your logical brain, to have a proper reaction. But in order to control your amygdala or to reset your amygdala, you can use breath. A lot of people don't know this, but breath is one of the most powerful and cheapest medicine you can find in the world.
Okay.
There is different type of breathing techniques. You know, there is Kundalini breathing. There is many types of breathing. But what I recommend when I talk in the book is the box breathing, which is 4, 4, 4, 4. 4 seconds inhale, 4 seconds you hold it, 4 seconds you exhale, and 4 seconds you hold the exhale. Now it is important to mention that breath has to be done correctly. A lot of people I see in meetings or in these moments breathing through the chest. You have to breathe through the diaphragm, which is this part of the stomach. And the diaphragm will absorb a lot more oxygen, and your capacity to breathe will be a lot better when you use the diaphragm. Okay? So the diaphragm needs to be used. Another important thing is you need to inhale through the nose.
Okay.
Why through the nose? There is elements in the nose that will humidify the air. And when you humidify the air, you increase the level of nitric oxide. And what it does, increase the oxygen in the brain.
Okay.
So when you breathe through the mouth, this doesn't happen.
Makes sense.
So you breathe through the nose, you hold it, and you exhale through the mouth. It's important to exhale through the mouth because it's not necessary to use your nose for exhaling, only for inhaling.
Okay.
And what you do is you completely reset the limbic brain. So Navy SEALs, for example, use other type of breathing, which is similar, and there is many types. But in the end, what matters is in the moment to take control. And the only way to take control, scientifically proven, is to reset the amygdala. This is one technique. Another very powerful technique that I use all the time is cognitive reframing. Cognitive reframing is complex and simple at the same time. There is, let's say, the simple and easy tools and the complex tools. Let's start with the easy tools. Easy tools is labeling your emotion. There was a study made where there were 2 control groups. One group was looking at pictures of people with emotions. Mm-hmm. And they were just looking at the pictures one after another. And then the other control group was looking at the pictures, but they were labeling the feeling they saw in the picture. Oh, he's happy, he's angry, he is concerned, he is anxious. After the study, they compare the emotional state of both groups. The group that was labeling the emotion had a lot less anxiety and stress than the other group. It's very interesting. It's scientifically proven. Labeling your emotion, it will help. A lot of people think that, oh, if I say I'm anxious, I'm going to get more anxious. Not true. Because the moment you say it, in the reframing concept,
Okay.
it will separate you from the limbic brain, from the limbic reaction.
Because you make it conscious.
Exactly.
Yes,
That is exactly right.
through the emotion.
Exactly. When you bring things from here to the surface, it will lose their emotional power. So just by saying, for example, if you are in front of people and then you're going to give a speech and you feel very anxious, you do box breathing or some other breathing. And then you say, I feel anxious. I am anxious. My feelings now are of anxiety. And just that will diminish 70% of your anxiety.
That works because it happens to me. I mean, couple of minutes before this podcast, I just breathe, and I said, I mean, inside of me, I am so nervous, but this feeling is because I am excited to do this.
Excellent example. You did something else there. You added a reframing, positive reframing. Because labeling the emotion is one thing, but transmuting the emotion, say, yes, I'm feeling anxious because I'm excited. Then it turns the table completely. You not only reset the amygdala, you put it in the positive side with the prefrontal cortex. You reason from something to something else. And then you're excited. And when you're excited, what do you do?
Yeah.
You rock.
Thank you, Ramon. Just to rephrase all that you said. It is because of our audience will say, okay, I already received like thousands of
Tips.
tips, information, how the brain works and so on. So just to rephrase, it is how this behavior works in the brain is because of your limbic brain, no? And how you can control your limbic brain is controlling your amygdala, correct? And how you can control your amygdala, you need to use a couple of techniques, and you already mentioned one technique, maybe two techniques. I think that there is something that we need to learn more, no? But I think that we will be introduced little by little in this.
Correct. That's an excellent summary, Pedro. And thank you, because the audience need to take value out of this podcast. And my intention with the book and with this podcast is to give them a hint. In the book, there is a lot more information in detail that talks about in detail of breathing techniques and how the amygdala works, etc., etc. But thank you. That was an excellent summary.
And also, I don't know if you can have this, I would say, experience because you are executive program management, and also David, you are the man of engineering, and I am sure that you have these I would say scenarios, and I can say that I had these feelings, and also my amygdala completely blocks my neocortex.
It's the freezing part.
Yeah, and after this yelling situation and stressing moments, I just arrive to my desk and say, I don't know nothing about it. So after that, I apply the technique of breathing.
Excellent.
So breathing, maybe 10 times, 20 times. And after those 20 times, I say, okay, now it's time to work. I am ready to work, and I know how to do it and what to do. So that works.
It's an excellent
maybe you know this better. No?
Okay. Then actually, you enter into next. I would say that we will speak about it, and you will give us the techniques. You will give us more how we can develop this, because at the end, this code was designed or was developed to create this value to your human interaction. Right?
That's right.
So there was that we were discussing previously that this was a key for successful or to succeed in life. What's making you believe that this is actually a key for that purpose?
That's a very good point and an excellent question. Influence and emotional control is not optional. It's a skill that is a basic skill for survival, and I will explain why. Everything you do, absolutely everything, has to do with relating to other human beings. Even if you're a child, with your parents, with school, with your teacher, with all your environment. And the environment is full of people. The couch you are sitting on, the house you have, the cameras, people build them and sell them. And even if you want coffee, you have to go to Starbucks and order coffee. And if your communication and your connection is bad, they might spit in your coffee if you are not liked. It's true.
That happens.
It happens.
It happens all the
Yeah.
time. So people think this is this is for salespeople. Oh, this is for psychologists. This is for people who need to interact with people. You interact with people whether you like it or not. Unless you live on a cave or something else, you will not interact with people.
Yeah.
But even if you think about it, even when you were born, you were a child, you communicated through crying. That was the only way you communicated. Whether you were hungry or you were sick or you needed something from your mom, you were crying. Then later on, you grew up, you learned how to speak, and then we're saying, I don't know, food, toy, mama, papa, milk, and then your communication started increasing to the level that you become sophisticated, and then you can give speeches, talk about engineering terminology, talk about this podcast, complex ideas. If your communication is wrong or incorrect or is lacking, your life will suffer. You will suffer. Happiness, relationships, partnerships, business, personal life, everything is related to connecting to people. That's why it's so important.
Good. And I think the value for our audience at the end will reflect or will catch this portion that it doesn't matter what occupation we have, what profession we have, what age we have, etc. We can all the time be, let's say, involved with human interaction.
Absolutely.
That we are actually creating the value for us and for others, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I understood
Yeah,
from this.
that's
Thank you.
excellent summary.
Then continue with the subject and starting with a little of challenge. Why should we buy your book? Why the audience should invest their time on reading this book, since there are thousands of books in the market already about these topics. What is the value added that you are sharing us now that will give us the trigger to invest this time for this?
You know, that's a question that I ask myself. There is a lot of books already on influence. I have them all. You can see here. And every single one has amazing information. I've read all of them to write my book. But to answer your question concretely, my book compiles everything. It's human interaction in its entirety. And the book will teach you very basic skills for human interaction, making people feel safe, understood, and important. The rest of the books I've read talk about techniques, tactics, which I include also in my book, but it's a combination in a holistic way how to interact with people. So that is what I believe is the value added. And on top of that, I created a formula, CSELIA, which no book talks about that. Vanessa Van Edwards' book talks about language. Chris Voss talks about tactical empathy. Robert Cialdini talks about influence principles. But there is pieces here and there. I'm not saying that these authors are not good. They are fantastic. And thanks to them, I'm writing my book. But the value added is precisely that. In simple words, with clear examples, I'm showing how to make people feel safe, understood, and important.
If I understand then the term, we are creating this value added in our human interaction by these, let's say, concepts. But in a real world example, in our job, in my case, we have a super angry customer that is yelling us for some reason, one issue that was unexpected, and then it created a complete chaos in their factory, in their plant. So they come to you, they start yelling at you. How can you start this, let's say, emotional control by yourself, and how would be a good approach to the situation to get it into the control and to get it under the, let's say, part that you want to have, in the side that you want to have the customer relax, calm, and comfortable with the situation.
Yeah. Actually, I dedicated one entire chapter of my book to that, which I call the pillar redirecting aggression. And at the end of the chapter, I summarize it in 5 steps. Step number 1, you need to control your emotional state. We talk about some techniques like breathing, cognitive reframing, and there is other techniques that we'll talk about later in the podcast. But that's the first step. First, you need to control your mental state. Understanding that the customer is angry, then you need to use tactical empathy, which is step number 2. Agree with them. No matter how ridiculous or strange or out of place might be their criticism. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's totally wrong, sometimes it's a mix. You don't know that. There might be some legit reasons for them to be angry. But then you use tactical empathy. And the way you do that is you hear the angry customer and he starts yelling at you, and you say something like, "It looks like you are very frustrated, and I can understand that." And then the customer probably will continue giving you some nasty words or some reactions that are still provoking your limbic brain. But as you are a human interaction ninja, you understand that you can reset the amygdala. You can breathe, you can pause, and you can say, it feels like whatever we are doing is not enough. And then the step 3 is you ask for specifics. So I understand our performance is not the best, and I see why you're frustrated. Can you give me a specific example on how this must be done according to the customer expectation, just to clarify and be on the same common ground? And then you will move him from the limbic reaction, because he's possessed by the amygdala,
For emotions.
and you will switch him to the rational brain, because he will start thinking, okay, yeah, what specifically I want. And then the moment that you make that shift successfully, first through tactical empathy, he feels what? Safe and understood. He feels understood. Okay, he understands that I'm frustrated. He understands the performance is not correct. Now the next step is they need to feel important. And in order for them to feel important, you ask for specifics. And he might say, oh, your report is garbage. You were missing this and this and this piece of information, and this is critical for us to approve the product. And then you paraphrase. You say something like, so if I understand correctly, this point of data number 1, number 2, number 3, and this information is important for the report, so you can justify the approval to the different parties involved. Is that correct? And here's the caveat. You might say something right, or you might say something wrong, or you might say something in between. Doesn't matter. He will correct you. Humans like to correct people.
Mm-hmm.
Humans like to say, no, you are not right. This is what I need. But anyhow, he will give you again the specifics, and then you paraphrase again. And then he will nod, or he will say yes on the phone. He will say, that's right. And Chris Voss talks about that, getting the that's right. Once you get the that's right, you accomplish the tactical empathy journey. And then the next step is you take control and action. You say, okay, I understand now. This information is important. This information is important. This is missing. I'm sorry we didn't prepare this like we were supposed to prepare. We look unprofessional, and I understand your frustration. So I propose we gather the data again. Let me talk to my team. Give me 24 hours, and I will come back to you with an answer, with all the data you're requesting. It's clear for me, and I ask you please to give me the opportunity to redeem ourselves, providing the information as requested. Customer will accept that, especially if you check this out. I'm putting some influence seedings in my communication with him. I'm talking about Speed, I'm talking about, he understands that I understand what exactly he needs. This is important because when people communicate, sometimes we say yes, but they are not sure if they were correctly understood. So you close this loop by paraphrasing everything again, and you make sure he says that that's right. This is key, not you're right. And Chris Voss talks about this. This is not my words. This is Chris Voss's words. But that's right, or that's correct, or that's exactly what I mean. Once you have that, you make a commitment and you deliver.
So Ramon, let me ask something here. You've been talking about control, emotional control, influence, persuasion, and let me say it sounds a little bit like manipulation. Is that what it is about?
This is an excellent question, and let me tell you this. Actually, all the authors that I read face the same question. What if we manipulate people with all this body language and all this tactical empathy,
And the
influence, persuasion, and there is 3 answers to this. Answer number 1, and the word behind is intentions. If your intention is to take advantage and it's a selfish intention, then you are manipulating people. But my book and the things I propose are to bring clarity to the picture. Clarity not only for you, but for the person you are talking to. Whenever you are into an emotional state, a heightened emotional state, whether you are angry or sad, or you are in an altered state, you have a distortion of the world. You see the things through your lenses. But once you give clarity through influence, through tactical empathy, you bring them to a place where your amygdala is not in control, but your prefrontal cortex. And then you look for an outcome that is positive for all of you. If you do that, then you have the right intention. This is the second. And the third answer, and this is something coming also from Vanessa Vanedors, she also says, insincerity eventually leaks. What she means by that is, you can trick me once. Like, for example, have you ever bought something that you didn't really want to buy because the sales pitch was fantastic and you feel like pressured and you were like, yeah, I'm gonna buy it. But then after some hours you say, wow, this is not what I want. And you feel regret. It's called buyer's remorse. And this applies also to the dating world. Huh? It applies to everything. You have buyer's remorse. You feel tricked. Insincerity leaks. You will not come back to the same store or to the same salesman or to the same whatever if you feel this buyer's remorse. Insincerity leaks. That's why congruence is important. If I come to you, David, or to you, Eva, now that you are asking the question, and I say something, just some flattery, cheap flattery. Oh, you are the most beautiful girl in this world, or you are the smartest person I've ever met. You will smell it eventually. You will know it's not true.
Your intention.
You will know my intentions, and you will say, he talks beautifully, but something doesn't quite click.
What is behind this?
And then it will leak. So in the book, I actually added the last 2 chapters in the book. I added them later that I talk about manipulation and lies, precisely because the human interaction ninja must avoid and recognize that. And that is why it's important in my book. All the other influence books don't talk about that. Some books, but not all. And for me, it's important to make that clear because I want to bring clarity with my book. I want to bring to the surface that insincerity leaks. And intention, of course, you cannot control that. It's like this bottle, right? It was made to put water on. But I can use it as a weapon to hit Davey in the face. And it was not intended to do that. But it's my intention behind who makes this a weapon. And then the Garcia Crespo company cannot say, oh, why you make bottles that can damage people? Well, we cannot avoid that. And you can have the same with fire. Fire can destroy and fire can cure people. Or create things.
So this is not about taking advantage of people.
Absolutely not. It's not the intention of the book. Of course, you cannot control everybody, but you can control your intentions. And my intention with the book is to bring clarity to the surface, to bring a situation where the outcome is positive to all parties.
Thank you.
So Ramon, I mean, you mentioned a couple of things. Manipulation, I mean, you said it, but as far as I understood, depends on your intention. It is not manipulation if you have the win-win strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that you want to win also will help the other person to grow in a simple way or in a different scenario.
That's right.
But how, or let me do it again. I don't believe in the intention of the book. Honestly and frankly speaking, I think that you are selling smoke. Like the thousands of guys that are in Instagram saying, no, emotional control will give you the success, is the key. Or you need to influence people. As long as you are the most influenced guy in the room, you are controlling the situation. But from my perspective and from my honest perspective and point of view, everyone is saying the same thing. Control your emotions, control yourself in order to control the other ones or the other people. For me, this is selling smoke, honestly. Give me your point of view.
Well, I can totally understand that because it happens to me in the writing of my book, trying to search for answers. There is a lot of quackery. People who pretends or fakes or says things that are not true. I totally understand that. And it happens to all of us. In every scenario of life, there is people who are legit and there is people who are not legit. My book is based on science. It's not a thing or I read or somebody in Instagram, some influencer gave me the answers. I studied science and the science behind the science. So that creates a basis of knowledge proven through time. This is the first thing. The second thing, in my book, I don't talk about my experience per se. I talk about other scientific papers, other scientific sources. It's not something I just investigated. It's something proven time and again. And there is a lot of information in the internet. Unfortunately, today, there is a lot of information in the internet that is absolute garbage. And this is dangerous because people can create a book, write a book about anything and claim anything. But the real proof is whether or not they are based on scientific proven methods and facts. For me, I'm an engineer, so I think very square. I don't believe in pseudoscience. I don't believe in something I read in a magazine. My nature is to doubt everything. And I was actually talking to David. There is something that is called the antithesis. And whenever you think something and you have a hypothesis of something, the scientific way to disprove this is challenge your own hypothesis. What can be wrong? Where am I wrong? Instead of saying, yes, this is it, you say, okay, where am I wrong? What is missing here? Using that scientific approach, I wrote my book. I deleted many things. I added some other things. So I truly believe that my book has 99.9% scientifically proven facts and methods. Of course, I experience as well. Mm-hmm. Everything is not just theory. It has been applied time and again in negotiations with the toughest customers you can imagine, you know this. And time and again, it works. So I'm absolutely confident about that the book is legit, and it will help people.
Okay. I will put in a scenario just to give to our audience the opportunity to understand better this point of view. Because from my point of view, all of your thoughts and all of your, I would say, point of view became from the position of a management level.
That's right.
You are management. You are from the management. You have the rights and also the rights to say to people, do this way, or think about this, or do this to resolve this issue. No? And also talk to the management, to the other companies, to the customers, or whatever. No? So let's imagine one person. Imagine that you are the last piece of the chain of this
The
Command
commands.
chain.
yeah. Imagine you are the engineer who are responsible for a program, no? Or the man who is just washing the dishes, and you have at that time you have a customer that is yelling to you, a customer that is not paying to you, or the boss that is also yelling to you. From that statement, or I would say mindset, how you can approach the situation as a, I would say,
Ninja.
entry level, no? As a, I don't want to say entry level because of course it's you need to grow, no? I mean, everyone can start from wherever, no? Or wherever, and becomes super high. But how do you approach this? I mean, how would you approach to become, I would say, high level from the starting level?
Absolutely.
I mean, from a point of view, transferring the point of view through the book, no? Through the book and through your thoughts.
Yeah, the book is not made for management. The book is made for anybody. Anybody who can speak, who interacts with people, can apply the book immediately. It's not about whether or not you're management or not. I agree that being a manager within the context of the company will give you some leverage to influence people easier. But you are very well aware, as anybody else who has worked in the corporate, that there is management who people hate, who people don't respect. It doesn't matter. I've seen it even in vice presidents or CEOs. So the position will only give you a very narrow influence leverage with somebody else. If I were the boss, David's boss, for example, he might do what I ask him to do, but he will not respect me. And respect is something you cannot buy with position. Respect is something you cannot just demand. It's something you earn. And you can be the king of the world, but you can be the most hated king of the world or the most loved king of the world. So position doesn't really matter. What matters is how you connect with people, how you make them feel. Yeah. And there is a saying that says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. This is a fascinating quote. Okay. And if you think about it, it's absolutely true. People don't remember what you said. People remember how you made them feel through time.
Now, getting into the next part for this, because now we are discussing why this is important, what is the value added in few words that we spoke is making the people feel safe, understood, and important.
Correct.
Will create the, let's say, the interaction in this way more in a comfort, let's say, way, and then paying to the situation or going through the conflicts, etc. But what are the strategy to start training this? We were making some examples, maybe for the audience that are not so familiar with the topic, they did not saw it, but now that we are involved in this topic, we saw a small, let's say, interactions that were happening here when you were trying to push a little bit, and then Ramon, instead of react, he respond. Then he thinks what we were trying to push at him, and then he made this great exercise. But how can we start this, let's say, training? How can we share to the audience a good, let's say, a starting point for
Okay.
the code.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I think this is the real value that our listeners wants to hear. Okay, that all this is good and fun,
Okay, we did it.
but what should I do tomorrow or today to
wanna learn, I
start
wanna learn.
having emotional
And-
control? Exactly. Practical things, not theory, not books, not blah, blah, blah. And here is 6, I call them 6 strategies to gain emotional control, which is the very first step. Strategy number 1 is, we talk about it, breathing. Breathing will bring you immediately to reset your amygdala and will bring you to the prefrontal cortex and will bring you clarity. Then we talk about cognitive reframing. And this is a very expensive and very complex
Yeah.
topic. There is books and books and books I've read.
We can talk about like hours.
whole-
We can talk
Days.
about these days. Yeah? Days. Cognitive reframing, what I recommend to the listeners to be practical in this podcast is that they buy the book Feeling Good from Dr. David D. Burns. It brings absolutely, cutting edge techniques for something that psychology now, you as a psychologist, psychology now uses for therapy. In the past, it was the classical psychology. Okay, you talk about the problems with me, and then I listen to you for hours and hours, and we are in therapy for like 10 years.
That's right.
Now
Exactly. And I give you some pills, some antidepressants, Valium, Xanax, whatever. Now, more and more cognitive reframing and cognitive therapy. Cognitive, just for the listeners, is a fancy word for thoughts. Okay, this is cognition. Thoughts is cognition. So, thinking therapy, exactly what I recommended. Okay, do cognitive reframing. Label your emotion. That is cognitive thinking. Because the very basic principle is you think, then you create an emotion, and from the emotion, you create action. And the same works reverse. You have actions that create thinking, that create emotions, and you can enter in a good loop or in a bad loop. And what depressed people do is they are in a loop of, they feel sad, so they think sad thoughts. And then they act sad, that they don't go out, they don't interact with people, and then they feel more sad, and then it goes through hell.
Worse and worse.
Worse and worse. So cognitive, in my book, I talk about this. That's why you should read it, because there is an entire chapter dedicated to cognitive reframing. So this is very important. This is the second tool. The third tool that we must use, and these 2 tools, cognitive reframing and breathing, is things that you can implement in the moment.
since now.
Since the moment you are feeling anxious, you breathe, box breathing, or any other breathing you can try. It's very extensive. But then the third one, and this goes more to preparation, prep work, is mental toughness development. Okay? Why we should have mental toughness? Because it will diminish the reaction from the amygdala. Exposing yourself to uncomfortable situations. What I do, and I know it sounds crazy, and it's not for everybody, but I take cold showers every day.
That's great for the hair.
Absolutely cold showers, especially when you don't want them.
I mean, even in winter,
In winter the most.
it's tough.
It's tough. It's not for everybody, but this shocks the system. The amygdala completely reacts the moment it feels, have you heard the saying, oh, I felt like a bucket of cold shower, of cold water when I heard this news. And it's the same because the cold shower gives you that. It's like, oh my God. So that's number 1. Number 2, I lift weights. You can lift weights, you can do martial arts, you can do something that challenges you out of your comfort zone. This is important. You can do ultra marathons, you
Or
can
marathon.
or a marathon
To learn a new language.
to learn
it
a new
just-
something that is challenging, that is causing your nervous system, your amygdala to be confronted.
Okay.
What it does is your amygdala response diminishes in intention and in time. For example, if I have, you say something to me and I feel sad for 1 week, then doing this mental toughness training will shorten that span of time to probably 1 day or even 1 hour, because you get used to it. And I know you're a professional athlete, you're a professional swimmer, so that is something that challenges you. It's important to understand that.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable all the time.
You need to prepare yourself to be uncomfortable.
Exactly. That's number
To get
3.
out of your comfort zone.
To get out of your comfort zone constantly, every day. Do something that is challenging, that is uncomfortable. It has to be uncomfortable.
Yes.
Because if it is not, then it is not challenging.
Yes.
Okay.
That is on purpose selected by you to
Exactly.
create this challenge.
Not everybody has the same, it's not the same medicine for everybody. For me, it's cold showers, lifting weights, fasting. Fasting is not only healthy, but it's also challenging. Yeah?
Yes.
If you are hungry, for the listeners, if you are hungry and you want to eat this cookie now, just wait 1 hour. Just say to yourself, I'm going to eat the cookie, but I'm going to wait 1 hour. And guess what? The more you do it, the less you want the cookie.
Absolutely.
Because your brain adapts to the new situation. So that's number 3, mental toughness. But this is a preparation to the moment you get challenged.
Okay.
Then there is the 4th one, what is shock therapy. It's called shock therapy. Whatever you're afraid of, you need to face it. As simple as that. If you're afraid of public speaking, then you need to do public speaking.
Okay.
If you're afraid to talking to strangers, then make a challenge and talk to 20 strangers a day. You don't have to do like go nuts and you just have to say hi to 20, just like that. Start with that. You know, in the book Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about the process. The process is what is important.
Yeah.
So if you are afraid of spiders, touch one spider or snakes. I know it sounds scary, and I know a lot of people will say, no, but you know, if I do, we put excuses because we don't want to do that. Yeah? We invent something. Even the psychologists, you know, when they get faced with this kind of client, they they hypnotize the psychologist to not try this shock therapy. So it's very interesting. So that's the 4th one. Okay, so then the 5th one, it will also help you to maintain a calm state, and that is meditation. Meditation and silence retreats. I've done silence retreat. It's tough, huh? It's very tough.
Yes.
And meditation, there is a lot of meditation. There is, you know, Kundalini meditation, guided meditation. You have transcendental meditation. There is hundreds and hundreds of schools of meditation. All of them are fantastic, but you have to select the one that is suitable for you, that you feel more comfortable with. There is people who meditate without music, with not just listening to the breath. This is excellent. There is people who say, no, I cannot do that, so I need a guided meditation, or even hypnosis meditation. This is also important. But that will do some different thing to the amygdala. It will make your baseline a lot higher to get out of your control. You will need more.
Okay.
You know, so you get prepared with the shock therapy, with the mental toughness, and then you have these, which attacks the amygdala through another angle. So you are attacking the amygdala through every single angle, so you don't have this response. Then the last one is supplements, nutrition, and sleep. You know, I'm a certified nutritionist, and I'm also a certified coach, fitness coach. And what I've learned, you know, a lot of people, when they ask me, oh, what is the one thing or the 2 things that I must do that are like absolutely effective and that are good just to be on, you know, on my peak,
In shape. Yeah.
And they expect something like, you know,
The
very
magic
fancy, very like
the
secretive,
the
the
three
three
steps
steps.
to be.
But then when I say you need to sleep well, you need to stop eating garbage, yeah,
Sweet
and
and
three, you need to chew slow. And they're like, what?
I choose low.
Yeah, chewing slow. They say, what? Yeah, I know. It doesn't sound sexy or elaborated.
Like exactly complex.
They expect, oh yeah, take this supplement.
I mean, too simple.
Yeah, they take this supplement that will help you. Of course, there is a room for that. I approach things, especially nutrition and all these things, based on your performance. Many people ask me, what is the best diet? The best diet is the one that will bring you to the performance you want, depending on what you want.
Of course.
Yeah. If you are an athlete, you swim long distances, you need self nutrition.
Of course.
But if you are a basketball player, you need different nutrition. If you lift weights, you want to look, you're a bodybuilder, you need different nutrition, right? Every single, let's say, sport or performance you are looking for, you need to adapt your nutrition. So there is keto diet, paleo diet, Mediterranean diet, vegetarian, vegan, raw vegan. I've tried all of them. And when I say all of them, believe me, people think I'm crazy. I've done all of them to the letter. And I can tell you, raw vegetarianism is the most disgusting thing you can ever. Yeah, this is crazy. But in the end, there is the simple rules for the listeners in order not to get confused. Just eat the things that are not with ingredients that you cannot pronounce. Okay. This is one rule.
Absolutely.
If you cannot pronounce it, it's not good for you. Just as simple as that. 2, eat organic food. And people think organic is more nutritious. It's not true. It's just less poisoning. Organic food will give you that, especially if you are eating vegetables. Because, yeah, the soil, it gets with pesticides and horrible things.
So we talked about the techniques. We talked about the theories and the science behind this. But what can we do on daily basis? What can the people watching do to be a ninja?
Okay, it's a good point. I want to give the listeners and our audience practical tips for everyday life.
Great.
Tip number 1 is 5 minutes of breathing, conscious breathing. We breathe all the time, but we don't do it consciously. So you can choose the box breathing or any other breathing if you feel like something else is necessary, but dedicate 5 minutes a day to do just breathing. Sit down and breathe through the diaphragm, through the nose, and using the 4-4-4-4 box breathing. That's number 1. Number 2 is 1 discomfort a day. Choose your discomfort. It has to be challenging. This is the rule. It has to be something you don't want to do and you feel uncomfortable. Whether it's running or cold showers or doing something that challenges you. Maybe fasting, you name it. Number 3, micro challenges. The shock therapy. Remember? If you're afraid of talking to people, then say, I'm going to say hi to 3 completely unknown people on the street or at work or wherever you choose. But you have to do this micro challenge. It's important to mention you don't have to go nuts and do like crazy stuff. Just do small steps, baby steps, and you upgrade from there. You can start small and then increase. Number 4, and this is super difficult, 1 minute of silence a day.
1 minute.
No music, no distractions, no cell phones. Just sit down and do nothing. What will happen, it happens to me, is your thoughts will come and go, and you will have the monkey brain, as people in many books call it. You have the monkey brain jumping from one thing to another.
Overthinking everything.
But the more you do it and the longer you do it, your thoughts will diminish and diminish and diminish. This is not meditation. Meditation is when you do maybe some breathing exercises, maybe some guided meditation. No, this is not meditation. It's just silence.
Just being in silence.
Just being in silence. That's important. No distractions. No TV or no music on the background. Try to do it in a quiet place. Can be, I don't recommend the bed because then you fall asleep. I recommend you do it sitting down or even standing. Don't walk and think. This is different. Just be silent. Completely silent. Then number 5, and this is huge, you need to protect your sleep. You need to make sure you sleep at least 7 hours a day. Ideally 9+ hours. Because this will reset your organism completely. It will give you not only health, but it will give you emotional control for sleep. It will give you everything. And then you can add, of course, the good food that we talk about, no processed food. And then some supplements that I always use. Magnesium for sleeping. You can add zinc or vitamin D, especially for the people who's in the office most of the time. They don't get the sun. And the sun makes your body produce naturally vitamin D. But if you don't get the sun, then you don't get vitamin D. So you're probably deficient. Especially for people who work in like an office or, close to space. But even so, if you have a chance to go outside for 10, 15 minutes at a time, is recommended.
Take a sun bath.
Yeah. If you cannot do it, then take supplements. And it's also valid. So zinc, magnesium, vitamin D, and then omega-3. Most of the food we eat today are full of omega-6 and omega-9 and all these that we don't necessarily need as much as omega-3. Where do you find omega-3? Well, you can find in supplement, or also you can eat salmon or tuna, especially salmon.
Okay.
Is loaded with omega-3. So I really recommend that for those who like fish. For those who don't like fish, you can eat it in a supplement. You have to be careful that the supplement is a good supplement because there is a lot of contamination sometimes, and you have to be careful with that. Nothing like that will kill you or anything like that, but it's preferred you have like the food. It's preferred that you eat organic. Same with supplements. Prefer that you have supplements that are high quality supplements. Even if you pay a little bit more, it's worth the money.
Worth it. Okay.
Yeah, that would be my recommendation for the audience.
I mean that checklist that you are mentioning, Ramon, I have some thoughts about. Specifically speaking, 2 of them. I think the third one is the micro challenge that you mentioned. But what will happen if one, for example, I want to become a man who has emotional control, no? But I don't feel fear about talking with strangers or talking in front of a lot of people.
Or the spiders.
Or spiders or snakes or whatever. I do sports, extreme sports. Which challenges can I choose to start training myself to have the emotional control?
Well, here's different recommendations. You can pick one or many of those. Okay. Number 1, if you already swimming, for example, I know you're swimming, try to swim faster. Try to break your own record.
Okay.
Try to do something that is not easy to do. If you lift weights, try to do better form or slightly more weight. You have to be careful because you need to go to your edge. Not extremely crazy because you're going to get injured.
Of course, not dangerous.
But whatever you do, even Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or all these guys, Messi, they can be better than themselves.
Absolutely.
Every time. There is nobody who says, I'm perfect at everything. No. If, for example, you are not afraid of talking to strangers, try to get them to buy something from you or to give you something.
Or to teach something.
Or to teach something. Upgrade the challenge. Just whatever you do already, just try to upgrade the challenge.
Okay.
So that'll be my recommendation. That's number one. Number two, look for different challenges. Normally when you, for example, I don't play golf. And if I start playing golf, naturally I'm not gonna be skilled. I need to learn, and I will put my ego on the bottom because I'm good at what I do, maybe not, but if I start doing something that I've never done before, I will feel awkward. And this awkwardness will make you feel uncomfortable all the time. You can pick whatever you believe is something you should try. For example, I always wanted to play golf or tennis. I don't know how to do it, but that'll be a new challenge.
Okay.
Skydiving or whatever it's for you. It doesn't have to be something specifically. So it's something that you want to do that you don't know how to do, and probably you need to start doing because you will feel awkward.
Try a new thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Try a new thing.
Okay.
And number three is if you swim for an hour or you run for an hour or whatever you do, try to do it more often. Try to do a longer session.
Okay.
Try to take you to the next level or limit.
Okay.
Of course, time is a constraint, I understand, but that's why you need to select. There is nothing, absolutely nothing, you can take to the next level.
Okay.
If you have an excellent nutrition plan, take it to the next level.
Be better.
Be better.
So, I mean, just to get it in simple words, to the people who will see the video or listen to the podcast, as I understand this, is your life, or you are on a daily basis under or inside of the bubble. This is your daily.
A box.
So, with this, you need to force yourself to do the things out of your bubble, out of your daily, in order to become, or to prepare yourself to have emotional control in the cases that you need it. As far as I understood, I mean,
Yeah,
of course,
definitely.
I don't know if you have another thoughts, David or Eva.
No, just to complement, being out of the comfort zone will challenge you all the time to create this emotional control, will increase your mental toughness, then will give you a little bit more, let's say, techniques to definitely go into this human interaction. That at the end,
That's right.
we're discussing, and my takeaway, core things that we discussed, and Ramon explained us very well, that basically in few words, what is in core, what I'm taking from our talk, from this session, is we need to create the people in an environment that they feel safe, they feel understood, and they feel important.
That's absolutely right.
All around that we're discussing are techniques, are methods to go into this, let's say, environment, in this situation of this, to create this to the other people, so we can then improve our interaction.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it. You should write a book.
You should teach us. You should teach us. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I want to thank you, Ramon, because a part of this couple of minutes that we were talking, I really understood pretty much all the techniques, the science behind of the emotional control, and also I am leaving this session with the daily checklist of activities to start being a controlled man, and also being better to myself, just to myself.
That's right.
I mean, thank you,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And this is nothing yet, huh? We will go to the
just
next.
beginning.
This is the beginning.
This is the
Just
chapter
the-
one.
Yeah, the next episode we're
Just the
gonna talk
first
about
one.
the 80-20. This is fascinating, guys. But I'll see you there. Huh? We're gonna have a nice conversation.
We will do.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. So, emotional control is not about suppressing feelings. It's about labeling, reframing, and choosing our response. And that's what the ninja does. Next time, we'll move to the second HIN skill. Observation, the 80-20 rule of power. But for now, practice the skills, because the first cut is always inward.